Fella tips it out to Chris Paul. Nifty little pass. Chris on the drive, draws a foul and gets the bucket. You tell me.
15 points. That's unbelievable. No, they can score quickly. We know that. They can put up big numbers. Chris Paul, mid-range. Timeout, Lakers. DJ 13 in 2 years. Always give you.
You see how Chris
work.
Paul turned and faced up?
Yeah, he beats,
without dribbling?
Beats ball.
And he did it against a taller defender.
Chris Paul in the Houston uniform.
See how he navigates. Gets it pretty much anywhere he wants to go on the floor.
And still with a big lead. And Paul with Gobert on him. A quick shot, and he scores over Gobert.
You got to make Chris Paul drive by you. 22 points. But in this, it just seems like right now Harden is feeling something. What about other guys that's playing in MVP? I like what Embiid is doing right now for MVP.
Memories of 3 straight losses at home. Here's Paul coming the other way. He's so good at handling that ball like a pair of bongo drums, and then he just pulls up and raises and knocks down a 15-footer.
Just go ahead and shoot.
Yeah, pick up the slack.
Yeah,
that's what you got to do as a team.
Chris Paul puts it up and in. You're going to have to make a lot of baskets to stay up with the
cross court with it. Paul stopped on a dime and didn't leave Walker any change. Wow, let me tell you. That was you hit that one out. Random urine sample, and it revealed that he had cancer. He subsequently had the procedure to remove cancer, and he credits that random drug test with virtually Gasol switches on to him. Not sure that's a fair fight. Chris Paul stares him down and drills the jumper.
We're 3 for 11 at the half. Now that maybe they'll come out of their funk here right now, but they're not going to unless they start the D up. Because right now,
hard black. He got the ball down low before Antetokounmpo got it up. Chris Paul with a 2. And Chris Paul with 17. Now Bledsoe's got him. Chris Paul stops and pops. I'll tell you that you can roll. 5 seconds down to 4 on the shot clock. Chris Paul again. Chris Paul again. He says, Tucker. Chris Paul. So strong.
Yeah, and that's his layup right there. He can make that at a very high percentage.
Seen him do it in practice.
All the time.
He does it in practice all the time. And I think it takes some people by surprise, not on the team, but other opponents when he displays that athleticism.
I think his teammates you
Pella during that stretch. And now James Harden out for at least 2 weeks with a hamstring injury. Paul drops in along too.
And they've got Gerald Green, who was signed a couple of days ago, who's been terrific. They get the rookie in the air, and a shot good by Chris Paul. A deceptive move. And Green again the switch, and West has got the defensive assignment. Paul with the bounce. West may have turned an ankle, and the shot by Chris is in. Chris has got.
Chris Paul over Bikes, buries it.
Does that as well as anyone. Just size you up.
Paul waited for the screen. Pull up 15-footer.
That's a layup for Chris Paul. Once he got to that free throw line in the big.
And that's what he wanted.
Yeah, ISO now.
Paul, fade, crossover, fadeaway jumper is good.
He's so good at that.
Player.
Playing traditional point guard.
Except for Eric Gordon. Chris Paul, yeah. I'm glad to see him start zeroing in on that 14, 15-footer again. Chris Paul got Orland on him, and he hits a 2-and-1.
Your move right there, that's a Buck Williams special.
It's only good if you get away with it.
CP2.
He's living at the elbows inside the paint. Some defensive assignments.
It was a good pick. He picked his own man. Never got it to go. Chris Paul again open. Got it.
Mid-range, Chris Paul getting those 10, 12-foot shots.
He's got 6 seconds. Down to 5. Down to 4. Down to 3. It's Chris Paul's turn. Puts it up and got it at the buzzer. Chris Paul, they left him alone. Man, how can you run off and leave him?
Paul going to work on Bender, and there's the pull-up. He is the master of the pull-up jumper.
That's why you can't switch that situation. Ulis is fine.
Oh, the best record in the East, 34-10, beat Philly in London. Paul again with the pull-up J. 15 points on the night for Chris Paul.
If you're going to
again. So what's the counter here? How come Phoenix hasn't countered to that yet as Paul hits another one?
Well, the job is for the guy defending Chris Paul to either fight over or under the screen.
But been from three-point land, he couldn't get that one. Chris Paul, he starts weaving through traffic. You think he's going to pass, and he stops and takes the jumper, and he hits it. He's got
a 10-0 run. Paul will dance and fire. Put it up and in. When Harden comes back, he'll be the leading beautiful.
That's what we talked about, the defense being on a string.
Paul.
Nice. Okay. Uh-oh, words to the Clippers bench, too.
Paul's getting good.
He's giving Chris Paul the 3 here.
Paul 14 on the jab step, and that is the result.
Stop picking on him. He's been picking on Milos.
Three-point line. Paul working inside. Here's Paul on a fadeaway and hitting over town.
Chris Paul so good and crafty with that basketball.
I think they give them too much rope.
You think?
Well, Steve Jaffe, of course, works for us now at ESPN. As Paul knocks it down, the next dead ball, we're going to talk to Steve about what his thoughts on this. Paul's got Pachulia on him on the switch. Little shake and bake move. Jump shot is good. What a lethal mid-range game he had, although he's taken more threes than he's had in the past.
Point Houston lead. Chris Paul going inside. Puts up a 15-footer for 2 more. As I said earlier, he'll look for a shot more later. Still have a foul to give. Miami cannot give a foul. Chris Paul with a jumper! Cold-blooded basket by Chris.
It was nice that he did that because Cunningham was open. But the big thing is don't overpass in there now because you'll play right down their hand. How about this?
Chris Paul at the other end, back and forth. They go.
That kind of a shot. Take one more dribble. And now Capella's really got to make a tough decision whether he goes for the block.
Chris Paul makes it look so easy sometimes. And to think that some people
and the three-point game. Plus, both guys get fouled and they get to the line a lot.
Chris Paul taking his time. Already in double figures. Chris.
Oh, great move.
Broke Moore's breaks.
Wow, come on.
Wow.
He stopped on a dime. Very two guy.
In NBA history.
Andre Miller, nice player for many years.
Chris Paul didn't miss very much in New Orleans, and the Rockets now on a 10-2 run to start the game.
A young sideline reporter apprentice, guys.
Bart, give Frankie the mic, will you?
I'm going to.
Right.
I'm just going to go ahead and go home.
Yeah, good.
All right?
Frank. Checking that clock. Chris Paul puts it up with 6 seconds on the shot clock. I say kind of.
This deficit down from 19 to 6. Shot clock ticks. Paul lets it go and hits.
He was 2 for 10. You knew that was coming. He's not going to stop shooting, and this is his time.
I don't want him looking over his shoulder. I'm going to be on his case, but he's got the job, and we need to see him grow on the job as Paul hits one over Murray.
What a tough shot by Chris.
It really saps energy if guys or teams are in a struggle offensively, and you don't see that redoubling of energy and effort when there's offensive struggles.
Chris Paul now 14 points towards the middle of the floor.
Paul gives it up, gets it back from Nene. That's mid-range for Houston, and that's Chris Paul.
I know they don't like to.
Beyond the arc. Paul gets it back from Tucker. Tucker sets the screen. Paul over Dinwiddie. Yes.
The thing about Paul is he can go one-on-one versus you and get the shot pretty much where he wants.
Ball against Bam. Keeps you off balance with his handle, doesn't he? 4 points for Paul. Timeout for Miami. The Rockets. Chris Paul, 16-footer. He measured it, and he made it.
Yeah, that's automatic for him, usually from 15 feet.
Chris Paul gets a screen from Nene. Pushes off on Tyler and scores. 19 points for Chris Paul.
Mattress Firm. The Rockets are 7-1 in the last 8 home games against these Nuggets, averaging 115.4 points per game. The last time they were here back on November.
Thank you, man. It is time for the Reliant Light It Up Challenge. I have our contestant, Peyton, here with us tonight. All right, Peyton, you must hit the baskets in a row in 20 seconds to win the cool prizes. Your first basket.
Pass to nowhere again. Denver's been pretty good at that.
Number 28. It's not something they probably want to be good at.
I don't think they work at it. Chris Paul.
Vintage.
You want to get a close one to get that ball
On him down low, but he's got the lane open. Now they switch back as Chris puts it up and in.
Chris in the mid-range is unstoppable.
55% for Chris Paul between 16 feet and the three-point line, and that's just
Chris Paul, fall away, just beats the shot clock buzzer. Jalen Jones right out almost to the baseline, and then puts up the jumper.
That's a lot of skill. When you get thrown a pass, it's your responsibility to...
Yeah, Barton, I think a lot of Houston fans know that they haven't been able to get by San Antonio. Chris Paul.
The conductor getting it done. You know, it's not very often he gets...
Cephalosha. I really like the angles that he sets screens at. That's the thing that he does so beautifully. If you just watch him, the way he gets people open. He got Chris Paul open that time. Give Chris Paul help.
Paul, who is not, as of right now, scheduled to partake All-Star Weekend, barring an injury. I think he'd be one of the first guys to be in it.
Rockets up by 2. Chris Paul now putting on a show. The great ones have that ability to take it up another notch.
Think about that, he would say fatigue set in. You've got multiple playmakers. This guy with the ball in his hand, he's pretty good. And oh, by the way, he can carry the offense for stretches.
Paul with the pull-up, and he scores. That gives him 10 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. Take a basketball, put it right by Capella's head to get the proper shooting stroke as Chris Paul gets rid of the defender. Harden's raising the roof right as...
Key to our success, the biggest one, and you're talking about the win streak. They went from 14 turnovers to 10.
Yes.
And
I was going to point that out. Good catch. 9 straight points for the Nuggets now. Chris Paul over the top.
He's a good shot. That's what he does. You got to get over that pick and roll a little better. But
now Chris Paul around the screen. Murray. And Paul scores.
You can't put a hand like that in the face. It's not going to bother.
Jazz win.
Black just took that rebound away from Rudy. There's Chris Paul. Free throw line jumper. Good.
Where he leads the NBA right there. The mid-range game.
Got 5 to shoot, down to 4. On a dribble drive on Gobert. Stop and pop. It's up. Beat the clock.
It's his sweet spot this year. We've mentioned. Paul turns on the Jets, goes baseline, and gets the bounce. Just his second basket. He's got 6 points in his second game back to Los Angeles. As
the Rockets, we know they can score. They've got these 2 future Hall of Fame point guards. How much better is their defense as Paul knocks it down?
To me, it's the biggest jump. When you look at their lineup right now, they
transition off a post-up make.
So Paul stays in the game, hits the shot with 3 fouls. Both of you guys have talked about when you coach, it's all about what trust you have, and that's and now 16 here tonight.
They're a plus 22 with him in the game tonight.
Paul drills the jumper. Just 8 points for Paul.
Play out of the Kumbo. 24 for him. Harden 26 for the Rockets. Chris Paul hits the shot. Came down, falls down, barking.
Raptors got to get back to that. Get back to that movement.
when you are an elite team and the Raptors feel they are elite and they have been elite, and you're taking on...
This kills the Mavericks when he comes into this building. Or an Eric Gordon, who's, of course, lights out.
Elbow jumper from Chris Paul. Even though the Rockets are not a team that will...
From that center spot.
Free throw line jumper by Chris Paul.
That's his shot. He looks you down and pulls the trigger on you for those easy lob passes. And JJ, one of the best at getting it to you.
Paul again from around the elbow.
I don't know how bigs get switched off.
Minutes. Smith way off target on the three. Paul with an elbow jumper.
He does it.
This feathery touch on it.
Yeah.
Team this year, but he'll play big minutes tonight, no doubt. Chris Paul gets inside, finds his rhythm, and knocks down his first shot. Paul had 24 points and in New York, and now coaching his alma mater. Congratulations to Dan D'Antoni on what a great weekend.
Absolutely, and Mike had the opportunity with a day off to
surpass the Green. Back up top, wide open Harden. Through the hands of Gay, right to Chris Paul for a two-pointer. Paul, a little shake and bake, pulls up, knocks it down. Little exclamation point there as it's back up to 20.
In LA. So Drexler, like you said, you always want to torch your old team.
Oh, yeah, he had 22 points off the bench.
Speaking of which, that torching goes both ways. Chris Paul has scored 5 points in a row and gotten a block. Chris Paul's wide open.
And then a few words for the Clippers bench as he backs down.
Tapped it, but off the hand of Capella. It'll be Chris Paul's mid-range, and they get a break. It's all even at 36. They'll see it at halftime. Instead, they get Chris Paul. And his step back works. So Chris Paul coming into the game, as well as Kevin Durant. 10 on the shot clock, each one more. Chris Paul feeling pretty good. Exceptional mid-range game. He's always had that. Playing tonight. Pace has been there. Tucker with the pick. Paul with the pops. And he's killing him right now. He's done that before, though. He brought him back in Houston. Don't forget, he's 5 of 9 for the field. 11 and 4 dimes for Chris Paul. Struggle from beyond the arc, just 4 of 16.
You know, earlier in the year, we talked about and had that graphic. And there's Paul scoring again in the paint. But we talked about how the Pelicans come out in the third quarter.
They got frustrated in the playoffs, Western Conference Finals. San Antonio Spurs, Dallas Mavericks both took the Phoenix Suns out as Chris Paul knocks down the triple.
Right at the buzzer, they will.
From long two range, and Houston's just 2 of 4. So, I mean, they, like you're saying, they just only 4 long twos, non-paint twos.
There's some mid-range right there out of Chris Paul. Paul fading away over Crawford. Man, how tough of a shot was that? First points.
The jobs, you want one of those jobs. Only about 150 change hands.
That's why you tell a young man when he enters college, get that education. Portland lost in Dallas a couple of nights ago as Chris Paul hits the jumper.
The conductor.
And that's where...
I wore mine once. I'm kind of scared to wear it.
Oh, what a great play by CP3. 7. Robin Lopez, didn't he? Down there in the post for a while.
I think they had one of the brothers. Myers Leonard and what's the 2 brothers?
Lopez.
Black has played 9 minutes tonight. Chris Paul putting on a show.
The conductor goes.
Instead of letting it get back to Chris Paul, who's such an elite offensive player, making Ma Bute be creative.
Paul hits the jumper. Had you ever seen that before? Paul's jump shot is good.
I've seen it on a baseline out of bounds. I've never seen it in that situation.
Right up into Paul. Steps back, falling away, knocks it down. 15 for Paul. It's back to 1 again.
A wonderful Bob Basile, who is retiring tonight after decades at Turner Sports. Chris Paul. And we'll talk a little bit about Bob when we get a chance here at the next.
Paul pulls up and gets it. A long way to go here. Rockets can.
I think we said this the other night.
Houston at home.
Paul. Jang is defending. Chris got it to go over the taller player. The first shot that drops for Paul from the field.
Now for Wiggins.
It's Paul.
How good has he been?
That will drop.
How good has he been in this second half along with James Harden?
28, 9 games below 500, but Rudy Gobert got healthy and they really started to get things together. Chris Paul has had a phenomenal year, meanwhile.
Not only with the points, but then the direction and finding the other people so that they can run hard, especially in transition.
Boy, Chris Paul, he'll be stared down Exum and knocked down the jumper.
7 threes, Houston. 11 threes, Utah. Paul. It's Chris Paul. Second rebound. Got the screen. Mid-range. And the Rockets have not been very effective on their mid-range shots tonight.
Jazz 2 for their first 8 from the floor. Paul, lot of space, and a bucket.
Joe Ingles has been really sloppy. He's actually not on the bench. He's standing up coaching right now.
Right in front of the bench. Paul hits the mid-range and then talks to the standing Harden right out. And isolating, this time on Neto. Paul fading away, a difficult look, and he puts it in.
Was well defended by Raul Neto.
Trailed by as many as 24. It's at 21 right now. Paul smooth and in from the free throw line.
They're just taking turns, James Harden.
Chris Paul at 15 points and 6 assists. The one-on-one with Gobert. 4 to 5. Chris Paul.
You force the switch with the high screen and roll. If you're Chris Paul, you the rim here.
Paul and Mitchell. And I don't mean the hair company either. A shot right there by. Fell with the screen, Chris Paul.
The hard way.
It's another one. So back 16-footer. It's Nene. Paul, a 17-footer. Chris Paul having a great game. 40 did a conversation, very animated, going the other way. Now Ingles is watching Chris Paul, and Paul hits again. Chris Paul with 25, 11 and 20, but they've come back. Chris Paul, he is on the money tonight. He's got 27 with 9 rebounds.
Real quiet offensively.
It's Paul, and Mitchell is there, and a shot by Chris is in. You can almost feel with every shot. What a riveting performance by Chris Paul.
All James Harden. Now you add a future Hall of Famer to the mix.
Paul, he got it again. Chris Paul.
Canada's Looney defending on Paul. A lot of dribbling here by Paul. Goes to the fade and hits. Terrific mid-range shooter. Chris.
You know, we got sockless on the beach with new viewers.
Well, you know, you could have 2 different names.
Sure.
Paul was able to hit.
That Steve Kerr was worried about with Gordon on the floor.
Oh, the pullback by Paul. Yes. That was a shot. He says that's what an offense is based on. So he would watch. I don't think there was videotape at the time as Paul is able to hit.
Is that where he got the leg kick from?
For the Warriors. Good job by Bell on Paul. And Paul is able to hit.
So shake his hand after that. I mean, that's excellent defense.